everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video all about my tips for sorority recruitment, rush, whatever you want to call it. And this video is actually going to be a collab with one of my good friends, Dorothy, and she is also known as Prep in Your Steps. She has both a blog and a YouTube channel, and so I believe that she is doing both a blog post and a video about this. So I will of course put links to both of those posts down below, and you guys should definitely go and check them out because I know she has some really great tips, and she also just has amazing content, and she is the sweetest person ever. So you guys, after you finish watching this video, should definitely go and watch hers. And another thing real quick, if you are interested in the sweatshirt that I'm wearing, I will put a link to it down below. It is from an Etsy shop called Letters by Alex, and I love my sweatshirt a lot. I always get questions about where it's from, so I'll put a link down below if you want to check it out. Okay, so I've written down, I believe, 8 tips here for you guys, and I want to start off by saying that recruitment is different for everyone. It's different at every school, for every person. Everyone has a different experience, and so I actually have a Q&A up about just sorority life in general, so if you're interested in watching that, I will put a link to it down below, but I'm just going to be giving some general overall tips in this video. Okay, so my first tip is going to be to prepare and learn about each of the different sororities. When you go into each of the houses or the rooms and you're talking to girls about their sorority, I think it's really important to know a little bit about the sorority, so do some research on their philanthropy, on their campus involvement, on if they've won any campus awards in the past couple of years, stuff like that, so that is an automatic, conversation starter. You already know a little bit about it, and that way you can ask them questions about it too. And that goes into tip number 2, is that you can ask the girls questions as well. They're going to be asking you a ton of questions about where you're from, what you're majoring in, all that sort of typical stuff, but if you get tired of talking, which trust me, you probably will because you're going to be talking a lot. If you get tired of talking, you can ask them questions too. Ask them about what they're involved in on campus and what their favorite part of the sorority is, and what their favorite events have been in the sorority, and all that kind of stuff. That way it kind of takes the pressure off of you from answering so many questions, and you can let them talk some too. Okay, tip number 3 is something that I was told when I was going through recruitment, and that is to avoid the 3 B's, which stand for boys, booze, and the Bible. Personally, I don't think avoiding the Bible is all that necessary, but avoiding boys and booze, aka parties, I definitely think is important. I think if you go in and talk to girls about that, and that's the first thing that you ask about or are curious about, it just kind of gives them the wrong impression, or maybe that's the only thing you're interested in. Instead of joining a sorority for the philanthropy or the friends you're gonna make or anything like that, it kind of gives them the idea that you're only interested in it for parties, which I don't think is a good first impression that you want to make. So try your hardest not to talk about those things and keep the conversation just at more, I don't want to say surface level things because it is important to get deep, but just avoid those things. Alright, tip number 4 is another don't, and that is to not talk about any other sororities. Especially don't talk bad about other sororities, because that just puts you and the current member in an awkward situation. First of all, I don't think the current member should talk to you about other sororities at all either, because that just puts you in an awkward situation. But if you're asking about other sororities, they might not know the answers, they might not know what to say, they might have a really great opinion on one sorority or maybe a really poor opinion of another sorority, and so I think it's best just to leave all conversation to the current sorority that you are talking to at that point. I remember on prep night for me, I had a really tough time deciding between 2 different sororities, and I really wanted to talk to the girls that night in the parties about that, and I wanted to get their opinions on it, but I just don't think that would have been a good idea. And so that kind of leads into my next tip, which is to talk to your recruitment counselor about that kind of stuff. At my school, they're called ROGAMAs, which stand for RG Recruitment Guide, but Greek letters, if that makes sense. They're called different things at every school, but I think it's really important to talk to your counselors because they are a current member of a sorority and they have gone to that school for at least a year or 2, and so they know about the different sororities, they can tell you about stuff that they're involved in on campus, all that sort of stuff. And so if you have any questions at all about a sorority, they are there, they're supposed to be honest with you about stuff like that, and so I recommend that you talk to them. So on prep night, when I was having a tough time deciding between 2 different sororities, I ended up talking to my recruitment counselor, and she was able to help me so much and gave me really great advice, and I ended up loving the sorority that I joined. Not to say that I wouldn't have loved the other one either, because they're all great. Alright, tip number 6 is to plan your outfits ahead of time. And I have a feeling all girls watching this video are probably thinking duh, of course I'm gonna plan my outfits, but I think it's really important to look ahead at the schedule and to know that, okay, this day we have to be formal, this day is more casual, this day is, slightly casual, you know, whatever the case may be. I think it's really important to plan ahead of time before you move into school so that you can plan your outfits, you already know what you're going to be wearing, and you won't be stressed about that. Because as girls, we stress about our outfits a lot, so it's good just to get that part of the stressfulness out of the way ahead of time. Another thing is that you can plan with your friends about this kind of stuff, and not to say that you need to be wearing the same things as your friends, but just plan with them and say like, okay, how dressy are you gonna be this night? Like, is my dress dressy enough or is it too casual? You know, stuff like that. And you can also, of course, check with your recruitment counselor about that as well. That way you feel like you kind of fit in and you have what you need to have, if that makes sense. All right, tip number 7 is to remember the names of the girls that you're talking to. And this is something that I did a terrible job of. I can't even remember. I joined FindU and I honestly can't even remember the girls that I talked to in FindU, which is so terrible, but I think that you just get in there and you get so overwhelmed and you forget to look up and realize what your surroundings are, and I personally just did a terrible job of remembering girls' names. And so when they introduce themselves, like, take the time to store the name in your head and remember it. That way, whatever sorority you do end up joining, you can already know some of the girls and you're actually gonna remember their names instead of just being like, oh, I think I talked to them, but I don't remember. Also, that's gonna make it a little bit easier when you are exiting the party, because instead of just saying like, bye, it was nice to meet you, you can say, bye, Sarah, bye, Meredith, you know, whatever, and you know their name, and I think it makes them feel a little bit better too and shows that you took the time to remember their name. Alright, my very last tip is more of just kind of an inspirational thing that I want you guys to remember, and that is to always remember that everything happens for a reason. God has a plan for your life, and at times you're gonna think that things are going so wrong and they're not going the way you planned for them to go, and you just have to remember that at the end of the day, honestly, everything happens for a reason. And I know I keep saying that over and over again, but that's because it is so true. Just know that you will end up in the right place, whether that is the first sorority that pops into your head that you loved since day one or one that you really couldn't picture yourself in. You will be so happy at the end of the day. So although recruitment can be so stressful, just remember the reason you're doing this, and that is to join a sisterhood of great girls no matter what. So that is going to be it for this recruitment advice video. I hope you guys liked it and learned something from it. Again, don't forget to check out Dorothy's video because she has some amazing tips as well, and I will of course put a link to that down below. If you have any additional questions, feel free to leave comments down below and I will try my best to respond to them, and I think that is all I have to say. So I love you guys and I will talk to you all next time. Bye!